Hi there, my name's Adam Fielding, and welcome to another one of my music making sessions. Excellent! I didn't flub the intro, although it doesn't really roll off the tongue, does it? I feel like I need to work on that. So today, I've actually had 2 weeks off of these music making streams. I thought I'd take a couple of weeks just to kind of get my head together and get myself ready for some more music making streams. And it turns out that was incredibly well timed because I've been very, very busy these past couple of weeks. So if you're just joining now, you may have noticed that this stream has had a little bit of an overhaul. So you may be asking, where did these new fancy graphics and overlays and stuff come from? And they came from none other than Drabbit, who I can't actually see in the chat at the moment, but when he makes an appearance, I'll be sure to give him another shout out. But yeah, he's basically done an amazing job of putting together some graphics and images for me to use for these streams. I think it was like a month or two ago that he got in touch, or a few weeks. I've lost all track of time. Time has no meaning during lockdown. So yeah, I think he mentioned that that he knew someone who could do some graphic design. So I just kind of got in touch and yeah, so Drabbit actually sort of did a bunch of the graphic design that you see here, and I think it's fantastic. I love what he's done with the logo and everything. But yeah, I'm just blown away. So yeah, thanks so much, Drabbit, and hopefully we'll see him when he drops in. He's fighting raccoons. So yeah, excellent. I mentioned just before the stream started as well, it's got the added bonus of my face in the little panel in the corner makes me feel like I'm in Games Master or something, which I'm very much into. But I am a bit of a child. So anyway, without further ado, I will start making some noise. So this week, I mentioned just before the stream started on Twitch that I've been listening to a lot of music by a personal inspiration of mine, the music of Andrew Seeger as The Alpha Conspiracy. So I thought it'd be kind of nice to do something that's not necessarily sounds particularly similar, but something sort of in that vein. I'm basically been listening to a lot of that music recently. So I'm thinking something kind of upbeat and IDME, but with, you know, sort of a nice, basically sort of a more accessible structure behind it. So I'm sort of setting myself up for failure here by saying I'm going to try and do something by a personal musical hero, but there we go. So anyway, yeah, so I'm thinking, so you might have noticed that the tempo's been set to 140 BPM, so I'm going to keep things relatively breezy this week. So yeah, I guess without further ado, I should probably get started really. So one thing I didn't do during last week's stream, which I have been meaning to do for a little while, is dip into some of the new Beatmap algorithms. Beatmap had an update released a few weeks ago, and it included some new maps to use, essentially some new algorithms. So I thought it'd be really neat to try using those today. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do my old trick of creating an instance of Redrum or Redrum, whatever you want to call it. I'm aware that Redrum is a reference to The Shining, Redrum, obviously, but I've always called it Redrum. So if you disagree, let me know how you pronounce it in the chat. I'm curious. But anyway, while I'm waffling away, I'm going to dip into here and have a look at the Evolve Free section. One of these days I am going to switch up the drums I'm using, but they're so dependable. So in case that's very useful, Clovermut. It's pronounced Redrum. Redrum. See, everyone's pronouncing it Redrum, but I've always called it Redrum. Reason, Redrum, Rebirth. So I'm a stickler for consistency. So I'm just going to have a look for some kicks. That sounds like it's got a bit of heft to it. So I might actually reduce the length of it because I doubt I'm going to need all of that when I actually get things going. I'm also going to use my sort of standard drum effects chain. So that is the Eve drums insert section here. So just going over this again because it's been a little while. So it's just a Eve MP5 just to give them a bit of a high boost around 12k. Then there's a bit of compression via the pulverizer. It might add a little bit of dirt, why not? And then that goes through a limiter which is set to a -3 dB threshold. So I'm just going to sort of set up a 4 on the floor pattern so I can set the levels in the actual mixer here. So that's way too loud. Cool, there we go. I'm not going to stick with that. Cool. So that's the kick sorted out. Let's have a look for a snare. So I've had a few people ask me before how I get my ideas down so quickly during these streams. And I think a large part of it is the fact that I don't spend hours during these streams picking a snare. So I want something kind of, something kind of noisy and short. So I'm going to go with that. Might turn that down. It's a bit harsh on the old ears at the moment. So Thai blue re-drum. There we go. There's red drum re-drum. I feel like I've instigated a bit of a rift here. So we got a nice kick. We've got a nice snare. Let's have a hat. I want something kind of short and snappy, I reckon. That's kind of nice. I might come back to that. That's weird. I'm going to go for the weird choice. It just sounds kind of interesting. I'm going to turn that down a bit because that's a bit loud. And I'm going to create an instance of Beatmap because why not? So here we go, Beatmap. So which map shall I use? So I believe Arctic and Tharsis are the two new ones. Tharsis, from what little I've used of it so far, tends to lend itself more to kind of IDM-y kind of stuff. So I am actually going to use that. So let's just run this. Okay, I might just move it around a bit because I've just basically selected a random value. That's better. I feel like it's... I think what I need is to add an extra hat here. So yeah, just kind of a nice classic sort of hat sound. Excellent, save reminder. False Mirrors just asked, good evening, Adam and chat. Nice to have you back. Will you make a track for the Reason Studios Reason 1 challenge? Maybe. I'm not going to commit, but I was just saying just now, if I do a Reason 1 track, then I will. I'll almost certainly be using actual Reason 1 to do it. I feel like the purist in me would want to do that. So yeah, because I'm a bit weird like that. So. Tell you what, let's turn the steps up to 128. That's one other thing that changed in the Beatmap update. They've added these buttons in the lower right-hand corner, so you can select 16, 32, or 64 steps by clicking on those, and you can just drag it right up to 128, which is what I tend to do. Also, since the update, I've noticed I haven't had any issues with it drifting out of time, which is wonderful. So, yeah, they've basically taken the one thing that I didn't like about Beatmap and sorted it out, which is fantastic. So, yeah. Highly recommend using it. So yeah, I think that works quite nicely. Cool. I'm just going to leave that as it is, I guess. So what will I do next? So I'm actually going to call that drums for now. I guess nothing really says IDM-y stuff like some sort of glitchy drum pattern. So I'm going to dip into my patches library, go to devices. I'm going to bring out an instance of Roidos, but I'm going to use, there's an instance here called Roidos Pulse Mod, and I'll explain what that is in a second. Baskerville's robotic beam fixed it after watching your stream. Excellent. So, shall we go to it? Hey, Animal Chat, IDM Beatmap seems like a great week coming up. I hope so. I hope it works out. So, bring in Reactor, because nothing says early noughties IDM quite like an instance of Reactor thrown in there. So, this is Roidos, which I've used a few times before. But this is actually loaded up with a whole bunch of custom samples. So, I basically had a bit of a sound design session about a month ago, where I was basically creating a whole bunch of pulses and stuff using a combination of synths and the Lyra as a processing device and all kinds of other stuff. And one of the things I did with that was I chopped up all of the sequences I created and just threw them into this instance of Reactor. So it's Roidos, but it's using custom samples now. So I'm just going to... That sounds pretty cool. Just going to pick a preset from this little selection here, I guess. Okay, so that's a nice start. Clovermutt said, sounding wicked already. Excellent. That's what I like to hear. So I'm going to sort of save myself a bit of hassle and just drag out sort of 16 bars of nothing in the sequencer here and just bounce that in place. So I'm going to have 16 bars of Roydars bounced to audio, so I don't have to worry about messing around with Reactor in the rack. I'm just going to normalize that and just get rid of that instance of Reactor and just treat it as though it was never there. So 16 bars of nothing track title. I'm just going to stick that through a high pass filter, and I've turned that down, so that's really loud. So one thing I wanted to try out this week, so I've used Beatformer quite a few times in the past. For anyone unfamiliar, Beatformer is a really, really neat sort of drum processing plugin. It allows you to kind of adjust the dynamics of whatever you throw into it and sort of applies EQ and stuff. It's a really nice sort of very quick set it and forget it kind of plugin. It's really good if you just want to get going. So I thought it'd be really neat just to, instead of using that, to use just Reason's just the channel dynamics section, because I don't tend to use the gate and expander that often, and that's basically what I've been using Beatformer as for the past several sessions. So I'm going to turn off the compressor and just turn on the gate expander, and I'm just going to set the loop points so they're ready there. So I just want it to kind of pop a bit more, still have that kind of weird reverby sound that's kind of coming through, but I want the transients to kind of pop through, and to basically I'm going to adjust the threshold so it kind of captures the transients and then kind of dials things back for the tail. So hopefully you'll be able to see what I mean once I start messing around with it. So right now it's just open. There we go. So now it's sounding a lot more kind of poppy. So I'm going to turn the range right up, turn the release down a bit. So now it's a lot poppier. And that's pretty much what I would have used Beatformer for in the past. So not entirely sure why I haven't done that already, but there we go. So there we go. So there we go. Yeah, you could just use the gate expander for the sort of negative values of squash and Beatformer. You can just use the gate expander basically in Reason. They do very similar things. Beatformer is a lot more complex. There's a whole bunch of other stuff it can do. But most recently, this is pretty much what I've been using it for. So yeah, so that's kind of neat. So I'm going to call that Roydars perk. And I thought it'd be kind of cool, seeing as I'm going for a sort of early noughties IDM-y kind of vibe, to bring in some era appropriate breakbeats and kind of maybe sort of merge what I was doing last time with the jungly stuff with something a bit more clinical. So I'm going to go into the factory sound bank and go into old faithful Dr. X drum loops, and I'm going to go into the chemical beats, because I feel like nothing really says early noughties sort of beats, well, break beats, quite like the chemical beats folder in the Reason factory sound bank. That sounds pretty perfect to me. So I'm just going to drag that into the track. So again, you might be wondering why I'm not using Dr. X. I'm just using it as audio. Well, first of all, I'm going to quantize it. So everything's kind of hard on the grid there. And then I'm just going to set the grid to a quarter note and just chop it into 4 chunks. So I've kind of got into messing around with breakbeats this way. I much prefer doing this than kind of working with slicers. So I'm just going to move that over to one side for now. And basically, I'm just going to solo that track, bring the volume down, and kind of arrange it in a way that seems kind of pleasing to me. So I'm going to also have the drums playing over the top so I can sort of try and line it up. So I imagine I want a kick and snare in place at the moment. Yeah, someone's mentioned, Shelgratuit's mentioned, I assume you know him already, but I discovered P Cannon recently, Killer Jungle with old school hardware. He's got an awesome video on YouTube about how he writes a lot of his music using era appropriate sort of hardware and stuff. It's really, really awesome. I love that video to bits. Cannot recommend it enough. I think it was a future music video. So yeah, totally worth checking out. I love it. So I'm just going to mess around with this stuff, actually. I'm basically just recreating the break as it was. so I'm just going to leave that to roll out a bit more. Actually, let's mess around with this a bit more. Let's just put that back there. I'm going to swap those around, actually, for the flow of that. Yeah, that's better. I like that. So yeah, there's nothing really particularly sort of methodical about what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of rearranging the break until it forms something that I think is vaguely aesthetically pleasing. And I'm hoping with the kind of glitchy percussion underneath it, it'll all sit nicely together. Yeah, I like that. And I think at the end of the 8th loop, I might just reverse that little bit at the end. That's useful. My keyboard seems to be not working. Excellent. Oops, daisy. Cool. And I think I'll just copy that for the next section there. So I've got 16 bars. I feel like that'll be a nice place to start. Surprise, surprise, I'm going to be putting this into a block at some point. So I'm going to play that with the glitchy percussion as well. So I'm going to do a very similar thing with that breakbeat there and just kind of stick it through the gate expander. Maybe roll off the lows just a bit, not too much. In fact, I might reduce the range. Just realised I haven't actually turned the expander on either of these. Yeah. So I'm just gonna leave those as they are. So I'm just gonna call that breakbeat. Cool. So we're off to a nice start here. Fantastic. So just thinking what to add next, really. I feel like a nice grainy pad would be nice. I've done this a few times before, but you know, it's a nice technique to get ideas going. So I'm going to create a instance of grain and load in a sample of some sort. So I'm going to go to the factory sound bank. I normally dip into the other samples folder. I'm going to go to music loops this time. Have a look in fixed tempo. So there's a couple of none of these really say pad to me. Might come back to that. I think that's a little too rhythmic. Very appropriate. Thanks, Clovermutt, for redeeming the loon. Oh, well, I was listening to something recently that had the loon in it, and it made me chuckle. It was very appropriate. Very kind of synthwavy stuff. But I can't remember what it was. I think it's something Rhodesy might actually work. So pretty sure there's something else in this folder that's kind of has a sort of Rhodesy feel. I could just do a search for roads. That would make sense. Magic roads. Let's see what I can do with that. I reckon I could get something nice and grainy out of that. So I'm going to close that. I'm just going to extend the viewable range so I can see more of the sample. So right, let's set that. Okay, so I reckon I can do something with that. So, yep, someone said DR1 warming up on the sidelines. I'm really tempted to use the RV7000 to smear that, just to be contrarian. So I am going to create an instance of like the RV7000, and I'm going to leave that completely dialed in to wet, and set the algorithm to arena, set the size to maximum, just roll off the lows. That's cool. I like that. I like how that's turning out. So, yeah, to delay or not to delay? That is the question. I'm going to leave it for now. I'm not going to add any delay. Shogtwit says, love how that spread sounds. It's really fascinating how much of a difference just adding a bit of pan spread and pitch jitter actually makes to using grain for this particular purpose. That sounds very altered states of consciousness at 2 a.m. Fantastic. So I'm just gonna draw in a nice MIDI clip there, and just draw a single note there. So let's. There's a snare in that breakbeat that's not really sitting with me, so I might move that. That one, not keen on that, so I'm just going to ditch that. Yeah, let's try. Yeah, I think I prefer that. So I'm just going to leave that as it is. I'm not going to mess around with the breakbeat too much. So yeah, let's fix this. One thing I did actually really want to try with that breakbeat is something I haven't actually done. So again, I'm going to kind of do a bit of a substitution and something that I'm not really sure why I didn't do this before. So I'm going to call this grain pad because that sort of makes sense. So I've got the breakbeat here. So before now, I've used Stutter Edit to kind of introduce automatic kind of glitchy parts in there in sort of combination with evolution before. So I thought, why haven't I been doing this with buffer as well? So I'm going to use buffer for pretty much the same thing, but we'll see how that turns out. So I'm just going to bring the output from there into buffer, and I'm going to put that in a combinator because, again, you can't use a player with an effects unit, so I've had to put it into a combinator. So I've got to set this combinator so that buffer receives notes in the programmer. And now I'm just going to attach an instance of evolution to it. So if I press play, we should get some interesting kind of glitchy stuff happening over the top of it. Interesting is one word. So there we go, we've got some automatic kind of glitchiness going on there. So I'm going to set the note values to sort of something that's in line with buffer. So buffer tends to go from D1 to F3, I think. So let me just try that. I think it's D1. Yeah, to F3. So I don't really want it to go quite that high. So if we go from, say, start C2, so we get some interesting stuff. Maybe go same octave. Let's go with A sharp 2. That's fair enough. Right, let's just... Again, is it pronounced buffer or is it pronounced bouffer? Bouffer. Love it. So that'll introduce some interesting glitches to the breakbeat. Nothing too obvious, but you know, it's there. It's there. It's pronounced Beaufray. I wish that was true. Pef comes out and corrects everyone. So, right, where to next? So let's get some keys. Let's get some keys. I'm thinking something nice that could kind of wash over everything. Not necessarily with the RV7000 or DR1, but we'll see. So I'm gonna use an instance of Respire. And this time, as a shock, I'm not just going to load it up with a preset. I'm going to create something from scratch. So I was thinking it might be nice to create something sort of a nice kind of chordy type patch. So I'm going to just going to leave the oscillator as it is. Go to oscillator 2, set the set the note to 5 semitones up. So that's right, that's going to be really loud. There we go. Cool. So that's kind of simple to the point. Let's adjust the filter envelope. So envelope 3 is normally assigned to filter cutoff. Let's turn the release up. There we go. Who will be the first to redeem their channel points and request a device? Well, that is the question. That is the question. So, so I'm gonna finish this up. Yeah, so let's have that +7. So. And let's have oscillator 4 an octave up. Why not? There we go. So we've got a pretty simple patch there. So I'm just gonna, I think what I need here is quite a lot of delay. So I'm just gonna add an instance of echo and just turn up the feedback, not to over 100%. I don't want it to start self-oscillating. And that's quite nice. So I'm just going to draw in a few notes. So. Let's increase the decay on that filter. So, okay, so I'm gonna add. Actually, I'm just gonna leave that as it is. So what would be kind of nice to add here, I think, would be an instance of the processed piano's shimmer reverb. So I'll put that before the echo. So that's going into the audio in on the back of processed pianos. It's going out again. And so let's turn up the reverb. Let's have the shimmer. I might actually mess around with that chord because I'm not super into the kind of chord aspect of that. So if I just turn that. Nice, there we go. So I'm going to automate that because I might come back to automating the filter decay at some point. I feel like that would add a bit of life to the character. Life to the kind of synth generally. So I'm just going to leave that as it is. It's a nice simple synth, but satisfying as it is. Yeah, it's kind of hard to get a bad sound out of Spire, I think. I think it's time we added some bass. So something I wanted to avoid this week, which I've kind of leaned into in the past, is just having simple drone sort of pedal bass in the background. So I thought it'd be nice to bring in something different for a change, and I'm going to bring in an instance of The Legend, which I keep talking about, and I never actually use it during my streams, which is really baffling because it's a really, really good synth. So I'm just going to get the levels sorted. Let's bring that down a bit. So yeah, so I'm just going to create a nice simple bass, basically. Nothing overly complicated, just Shellcrystal says, do you get the same stock presets in the extension rack version of Spire as ones in the VST? As far as I'm aware, yes. I did actually demo the VST version because I was curious about that myself. And as far as I can tell, the presets are the same. There's some really good stuff in there by default. If you want to use presets made for the VST version, there is an online tool, I think, that converts between the two synths. So they're patch compatible. You just have to actually work with that. So what was I doing? So I'm also going to set this so that the velocity controls the filter frequency. So whereabouts is that? There we go. Velocity to filter. There we go. Oh no, it's wrong way around. There we go. So a little bit of drift there and a bit of saturation. Nice and simple, but sounds nice. Cool. I think that's a nice place to start. So I might add something to that in a bit. I might not. Who knows? It's nice and simple. So I've zoomed in a bit too far there. So let's just let that play out. So that's a nice place to start, I think. So I'm just going to keep that as it is, like a nice steady pattern. So I think being as we're kind of changing things up a bit and using things I haven't actually used in a while, I'll just call that bass. I'm going to create an instance of Maelstrom. I'm thinking it'd be really neat to have like a sort of gated pad sort of in there, and it'd be nice to use Maelstrom for a change. So yeah, so I'm going to use Maelstrom. So I'm going to create a neat little pad. So I'm just going to turn up the attack and release a bit, and let's pick a grain table, I guess. I always used to use the ambient chords because they sound great. So I'm just going to stick with that. So I want that to go through. I feel like I want to have a bit of a sort of high pass filter kind of thing going on. So I'm going to have a low pass filter there, and then that can go into filter A, and that could be yes, I find it helps if this is set up correctly. There we go, right. And want something kind of odd, as I've seemed to recall there's some really neat stuff at the bottom here. Vocoder bands is kind of right. Okay, so well, we're getting some interesting sounds out of it. I find it helps if you've got this going to the correct place. Okie dokie. So, this one let's go to the shaper, and then that goes to filter A. It's important to have a nice clearly laid out signal chain. So that's one thing I keep mentioning this about synths in Reason, particularly Thor and Maelstrom. So it's been ages since I've used Maelstrom. So I actually kind of forgot for a second how the signal routing actually works. It goes from filter B to where does it go from here? So handily, it's all laid out very sensibly. So it goes from filter B up to the shaper across to filter A. That makes sense. So yeah, never underestimate the importance of very clearly laid out signal path. In a synth. I think it's a lot of thing that people seem to overlook for some reason. It really annoys me. So I don't really want to spread those. So I'm just going to modulate the pitch a bit. So interestingly, with a lot of Reason's old devices like Maelstrom and Thor and Subtractor, I tend to find kind of a nice sweet spot for sort of pitch drift is around 12. So I'm just going to set that to 12. I don't know why that is. It's not the case in the newer devices like Europa and Grain, where I think they have more heavy kind of pitch modulation. So if I slow that down, it's interesting. So I'm not going to mess around with that too much. I might use mod B to control the motion, because that'll be kind of fun. So I'll be the first to admit at the moment that's not sounding super inspiring, but I reckon with a bit of treatment that could sound interesting. So I'm going to use a instance of the alligator, which is right here. And I'm going to go for one of the higher patterns here. Maybe let's slow that down. Or maybe not. Who knows? So I'm gonna just give that a nice little bit of reverb. I'm gonna fight every instinct. I'm gonna go with the RV7000 again, just because, and give it a bit of echo. Blasphemy, blasphemy indeed. Buskinville said earlier, the reason I took 2 weeks off is because I was in rehab. Maybe it's true. So I'm going to call this keys, and I'm going to call that Maelstrom thing. So I'm just gonna draw in a few notes. Whoops. I'm just going to leave that as it is for now. So I'm just going to leave that alone for now, and I might come back to that in a bit actually, just because it's a bit, I don't know, it might fit, who knows. Hacker says, who am I to judge? I don't even have DR1. I just use Antidote's effects section for my DR1. I did that for a very long time actually, until I got the Synapse effects bundle. Nothing wrong with that. They sound very, very similar. I'm not sure if they are identical, but if they're not, they are very similar. So yeah, so I'm going to create a instance of. I feel like another device I haven't used in a few weeks is monotone. So I was thinking it'd be nice just to have kind of a sort of sweeping, sort of simple arpeggio that kind of drifts in and out, basically. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bump the octave up because I'm going to be playing it as more of a sort of mono synth rather than a bass. So I'm just going to zoom right in here, maybe not 164, and just let's try that. So yeah, let's just keep that going. I'll play around with the actual sound for that in a second. In fact, I might bump that up an octave. That Maelstrom pad sounds like a game of Frogger getting the shit kicked out of him by oncoming traffic. Excellent. That is actually a pretty apt description, I feel. So I'm just going to create an instance of the echo just to kind of give it a really big sort of delay wash. Loads of feedback on that. So I'll just take that clip and keep copying that. So I'm going to automate the filter frequency here and just kind of draw a nice simple curve so it comes and goes, and duplicate that a couple of times. Nice kind of extra element going on there. So I think I'm kind of getting to a point now where I might have vague semblance of a single block going. So ideally, I'd like to create a couple of blocks, maybe vary things up a little bit in the second block. So I'll just call that ARP for now. It is an odd sound. So, right. So I've used Evolution once for drums. I feel like it'd be nice to use it for its sort of intended purpose, really. So I'm actually going to create another section, another column. So we can have sort of atmospheric stuff there. Well, let's just go with it. So I am going to create an instance of good old Thor, because it's been a long time since I used Thor. So again, I'm going to create something from scratch. But it's going to be kind of something simple. But so I I think it'd be nice to kind of have a nice sequence of plays where the filter kind of just opens and closes as it goes, bit of delay, kind of like the ARP. In fact, for the purposes of this, I probably don't want both of them playing at the same time. So I'm going to create an instance of Evolution, and I think so far I seem to be sticking primarily to the black keys. So I'm going to stick the key to F sharp, major pentatonic. So that's all the black keys. Theory knowledge. Very basic theory knowledge. So I'm just going to basically pick a random pattern and see what pops out. So I might change that sequence in a bit because I'm not super enamored with that. But I'm going to just turn the filter frequency. Actually, I'll leave that as it is. That's kind of a nice place to start. So I'm going to use LFO2 to control filter 1 frequency. And I'm going to turn that up to 69. Nice. So I'm going to set that to... Actually, I might go to minus 69. Oh, let's see if I can get that. There we go. Excellent. I'm going to turn that rate right down so it takes ages to sweep through. So now when I play, we should end up with a very slowly kind of opening filter. Or closing filter, rather. One thing I quite like actually is I want to dial in a bit of glide on that bass. So I'm using filter 3 now. I'm going to use a little trick that I've learned from a lot of Tom Pritchard's patches where he uses the low pass filter kind of as a bit of an EQ to kind of scoop the mids, but I'm also going to be opening and closing it as the track goes on, I think. So I'm just going to dial in a bit of resonance. The filter's completely open, dial in a bit of resonance that kind of just shapes the sound. So if we listen to that now. And just give it a bit of echo. So I'm also going to use LFO1. I'm going to set that to a random LFO, turn the rate right down, turn on key sync. So every time a key is pressed, a random signal is basically generated by LFO1. I'm going to use that to control the pitch of oscillator 1. Set that to 12. So now we get a bit of pitch variation there. Someone has, Lost Dog 07 has said that needs the DR1. So I might cave here and bring in an instance of DR1. I feel like I did alright to leave it this long. So maybe let's have a little bit of a... So there we go. Right, I'm gonna stick that into a block. So I think we've got block 1 ready. So it'd be nice to have a bit of variation in block 2, even if I'm just adding more chords basically, because it's very static at the moment. So I'm just gonna mute the mouse drum there, and I'll leave the Respire player. So I'm just gonna have a look at this legend section here and see if I can just get away with transposing these sections up and down. So I'm thinking of going. So we're at D sharp, we can go to well, let's find out. Yeah, that works. Yeah, okay. Just kind of cheese my way through writing an actual bass line. So I went D sharp, G sharp, D sharp. Then let's go to B. Let's try that. So I'm going to try and do something with the mouse drum pad so we can kind of vary things up a bit. So we're going D, right, so. And that does not work at all. So, that's annoying. Of course not. That's a completely different key, right? happy with where that's going. So, I think what I might do is not mess around too much. I might create a third block as I'm going. I might not. Who knows? I feel like I've got enough elements to kind of bring in and out as I go. So, to save myself a bit of a headache later on, I'm going to go to the evolution that's attached to the Thor and just copy that to track. Just so I've got that kind of in the sequencer. I have to keep kind of bypassing and enabling anything, so I can just kind of turn that off and bring that into block 1 as well. So save reminder, yes, thank you. I'll save that. Forte on Fire says, hi Adam and chat, this sounds very pleasant. Thank you, I'm glad. Yes, thank you Tony Byrne. Much obliged. I'm not sold on that at all, so I'm gonna let's have this evolution back. I actually quite like the simplicity of that. Okay, so I'm going to copy that to the track for now, and actually I'm not going to copy anything to the track. Why am I obsessed about copying things to tracks? So, actually no, I am going to copy it to the track just because it's going to make my life easier. So you know how earlier on I was talking about how it's important to be decisive with your choices when you're trying to get something done quickly. Yeah, none of that. So let's copy that, stick that in block 1. Well, at least it should be a nice, straightforward track to get going. So I'm just going to start with that grain pad. And maybe the maelstrom, just so we have kind of a nice rhythmic touch as the track starts. I don't know if that's going to be a bit too much, though. I guess if I use the low-pass filter to filter it in, then it won't be too crazy straight away. But I want the grain pad... So one thing I do want to do is not have the beatmap playing at the start. So if I just automate the on-off switch and just have that turned off at the beginning, nicely done. I've just realised I've automated the completely wrong thing. I've automated the grain pad instead of the maelstrom thing because, of course, I'm thinking grains, maelstrom, So let's try this one again. I want the grain pad to be completely open at the start of the track, and I want the maelstrom pad to fade in over the course of this section. So I'm going to turn the grain length down so we have the sort of more granular kind of feel. So I might automate the reverb as well, so it's kind of more washed out at the start on that maelstrom thing as well. So you know how I said this is going to be a really easy track to start? I was wrong. Take some low end off the alligator track. Let's give that a go. Thanks, Basket Bills. So what I'm going to do with the breakbeat is automate the density of the evolution so it doesn't kill it straight away. And I might also... Oh yeah, you can't draw in curves for some reason. So let's just do that. And I'm going to create an instance of the RV7. Actually, I'm going to use a DR1 script for the breakbeat, just so it kind of sounds a bit kind of washy when it comes in. So let's try that. Try that again. Maybe not have such a crazy amount of reverb at the start as well. So I might just have the hats coming at the start. So if I just mute, don't want that on. Let's mute the kick and the snare. Actually, what I might do instead of that is just have... Let's mess around with this block a bit there. There we go. So I'm going to turn that expander down a bit because it's a bit on the heavy side at the moment. Then after this point I might bring the bass in. think now would be a good time to drop out that grain pad. So I'm just going to create an instance of the ECF42. So I can use that to fade it out over this section here. Let's have another little drum fill here. So I'm using the Beatmap to create some drum fills. Nice and straightforward. Just automating the XY value there. So if you have a look at the Beatmap here, so you might have noticed me kind of alt-clicking on those to create automation lanes for them. So that's what I've done there. I might actually shift to block 2 after this, you know, not for a nice little change. So I'm just going to play this from start to finish. I'm not expecting this to be a particularly lengthy track. I feel like it's a nice kind of sort of breezy kind of just build up steadily, just kind of let it do its thing. One thing I do want to try in a second though is something that I haven't done yet. So yeah, but I'll play this for now and maybe lay some of the groundwork after this. So Club just redeemed the save reminder, so I figured I should probably save it. So I'm going to switch to block 2 there. Also, I'm thinking it might be nice to automate the shimmer I've got going on here and maybe beef it up a bit generally. I may have gone too far. Yeah, maybe not turn the reverb time up to 100%. So the thing I was talking about earlier where I said I might lay the groundwork for something different. So I'm using kind of beatmap variations quite a bit here. But I thought something I haven't really done before is I'm actually using a group bus for a change. So I'm just going to call this drum group. And so I'm going to use something that I haven't really tried before, I don't think. So I'm going to just bring in a nice little tool that I've made called Crossfade Template, which basically sets up a combinator so you have a kind of dry-wet control on a device that typically wouldn't have a dry-wet control on it. So in this instance, I'm going to be using an instance of Neptune. So I might be thinking, why on earth would you want to tune drums? That's a really weird thing to do. So I'm thinking for a couple of fills, I might use the formant shift on Neptune to create some interesting results. So I need to take the input out of, well, one of the outputs out of this split audio CV and bring that into the audio in here and route it back to there. So if I solo the drum group and I turn up the formant right there, if I press play, it'll sound the same because dry wet is set to dry. If I crank it up, so there we go, nice easy breaking of drums. Now you might be wondering why I've created this elaborate kind of dry wet setup instead of just automating the formant shift. Thing is, I think Neptune colors the sound of whatever goes into it regardless of whether it's actually processing it or not, or it introduces some delay. So I figured I'd just play it safe and just keep it dry for most of the track, and then so that'll be kind of nice before the chords come in, basically. So yeah, you can tell there's already a bit of delay in there. It sounds a little odd, so I might turn the length down a bit on that just so it comes back. And I'm going to automate the formant shift just so I can kind of get a bit of a varied sound out of it. So let's try that. Yeah, that's kind of neat. So just a nice little variation. Should bring that grain back during this section because I kind of feel like it fills out the mix quite nicely when it's there. You can kind of tell when it's not there. Busker Bill says, will Neptune detect the pitch of the drums? I don't know. Let's find out. Do you like messing around? So if I just solo the drum group and find, where did I put, where is the Neptune? It's nowhere near any of these, so I might, oh, there we go. So I'm just going to bring that to the top of the column just so I know where it is from now on, or it can have its own. What have I done? What have I done? Go to the top. Naughty Neptune. Right, okay. That's kind of fun. I like that. That's actually really cool. I might leave that as it is. I might use the formant shift later in the track. Who knows? Actually, I might stick to just using the formant shift for now. Maybe use that later. yeah, I want that to be back. There we go. So I'm going to take mod B out of this conveniently placed mouse drum and bring that into the pan input on this ARP, because I feel like that would just kind of give it a nice bit of stereo movement. I feel like that's not really washing over the mix enough, that spire, so I might crank up the delay a bit. I went too far. I feel like it's kind of coming up to a nice kind of natural place to round things off, so I might do that in a second. I feel like once I get the kind of rough arrangement down, I can start embellishing it a bit and kind of maybe tidying it up, but because it does need a bit of work. But just have a quick listen so far. so I think at the end I'm just going to bring that nice kind of, that little art back. And I'll keep it simple. I was thinking I might introduce a pad, some kind of pad that comes in around here, like a nice kind of sweeping over the top of everything. Sort of maybe something glassy. I might use, maybe I'll use Parsec. I haven't used that in a long time. Yeah, and then I think everything will kind of come to a close here. We'll end up with around 4 minutes. It's a reasonable length. I feel like that's sort of a light stream for me, really. So yeah, let's give that a go. So then at the end, I'm just going to turn all that stuff off. I love it when my keyboard just decides to randomly stop working. It's great. There we go. Right. So let's try that. So at the end, I'm just going to have those last 3 notes play. Oh, that's nice. I don't want the beatmap to continue, but if I can have that grain pad. Just finish it there. It's quite nice. So I've got a few things I'd like to try out. So one thing I haven't used in a while is I haven't used Polar during any of these streams, and I'd quite like to try adding that to the grain pad just to kind of add an extra fifth as the track comes to the end. I think that'd be really cool, just to kind of give it an extra dynamic. So yes, this is a very kind of very rough arrangement at the moment. I will concede that. So I want those keys to ideally shut the hell up, like right about now. So I'm just going to create another ECF42. Just use that to kind of filter the keys out right at the end, because I feel like that would do a nice job there. So I'm just going to automate the frequency at the end. So there we go. So that's kind of the rough arrangement. I want to tweak it, but it's nice to be at this point after I mean, it's been like an hour and 3/4, so it's plenty of time to embellish and tweak it. But I'm just going to play it from start to finish at the moment. So I guess now would be a great time to open the floor up to any title suggestions, if anyone has any ideas for things they'd like to throw at me, because at this point I haven't got a bloody clue. So yeah, but I'm just going to listen to it and kind of think about musically what I'd like to play around with. I've got sort of a few notes that I'd like to go through. But anyway, I'm just going to play it for now. Save warning, yes. It's not the same since it doesn't scare the crap out of me anymore. I keep forgetting to turn the volume up. Yeah, I think that those final keys at the end are just a bit too open for my taste. So I'll close the filter a bit there. Did I just? No. So I'm just going to close that a bit. Some nice title suggestions. Bondatampen, if I probably butchering the username here. Headspace, that's kind of a cool name. I like that. Digical suggests Cloud Island or Chase Sequence. I don't feel like it's kind of cinematic enough for Chase Sequence. Cloud Island's cool though. I really like that. It's got kind of a sort of nice cheeky vibe to it. I do like Headspace. That's a cool name. Yeah, that's cool. That's kind of making me think of kind of flow state. So I'd like to save the name. I'm amazed I haven't called a track flow state yet. I feel like that's something I probably would have done during my my October tracks. Really, I feel like that would have been the sort of track title that would fit that sort of thing. But never mind, a bit late for that now. So. So one thing I wanted to try was using an instance of Polar on. It's not a built-in device. There we go. So I don't want any of the dry signal. I want plus 7 semitones. So I'm just going to use that on the grain pad towards the end of the track, just to kind of. Well, let's give it a go. Let's hear how that sounds. Maybe an octave up. Yeah, that did not work the way I expected it to. Never mind. That's cool. I have other ideas for what I'd like to try there. So I was just thinking of adding like a nice kind of poly 6 at the end just for a bit of variation, like an extra. Cloud Space and Head Island. I see what you did there, Tony Byrne. So this is definitely going to need the old DR1 treatment. I still feel like it's a bit of a cop-out, but... doesn't really fit the vibe of the track, I feel. So I'm going to ditch that idea. But that's kind of one of my go-tos. My go-tos just aren't working today. Yeah, no nasal rises this week. In fact, no rises or sweeps of any kind, really. It's been a bit of an odd one. So that's interesting. I'm just thinking. I definitely want to add some extra percussion, kind of at this point in the track, or maybe a little later. feel like I want some kind of sort of some kind of pad to come in sort of towards the end of the track. But I'm facing the burden of choice. It's something I haven't dealt with in a while. Let's go with Europa. It's been a while since I've made a pad in Europa, so let's I'm just going to completely wing this. So I'm going to go to wavetables and let's go with complex. That's always fun. Let's set that to LFO1. Let's turn LFO1 down. No, I want that beat sync. So it's not particularly inspiring at the moment. So let's add a bit of unison, bit of spread, bit of detune. Okay, now let's start adding some modifiers. Let's get something going here. So let's add a octave. And wow. That is a noise. Let's try a different wavetable. Let's try... Okie dokie. So let's have going into the filter here, and let's use envelope 2, which I'm going to reset. No, that's the one. Where's the fairground? That is a fair question. Oh, God, that was a terrible unintentional pun. It's not what I was going for, but I kind of like it. Maybe not. So that's way too much pitch drift. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. It's just a bit too much on the modifiers, I think, there. There we go. All right, so that'll be a nice little pad that I can whack in at the end. think it's just a bit too, I don't know, on the nose. That'll do for now. Right, okay. Need to stop overthinking this. Yes, I can come in later, I think, once things settle down. The ARP isn't playing. That'll just kind of... So that releases way too quickly, I think. So if I just bring that up, yeah, there we go. I think actually what I want to do is just use an actual user controllable filter. So I'm just going to bring in a ECF42, which I've done a few times. Just use that to kind of fade this pad in and out. So I want it to fade in quite quickly like that. Let's try that. So I think I just needed that extra little pad at the end. So it was nice to just put together a quick Europa patch. Yeah, it turned out alright. That turned out alright. that ending just kind of comes out of nowhere a bit. That's neat. I still want to add like an extra percussive element towards the end. So I'm thinking I might just bring in another instance of Roidos. But this time I'll use, let's go here, patches, devices. So I've got another one here called MT mod, which is microtonic mod. So basically I took, Basketball says I think the bass line doesn't finish this loop. I'll have a look at that in a second. But basically, so this is very similar to the other instance of Roidos I had, except I threw in a bunch of microtonic one-shot hits. So very similar device, but it has kind of a different flavor to the one that I was playing with earlier. So I think that would be kind of nice to complement what's going on. So if I just play that. I think I'm overthinking this. I don't need more glitchy percussion. I think I need like something chunkier. So I'm going to have a look in the old loop supply folder here and see if there's something I can use in here. So I'm going to go into the electronic folder. I'm not sold on that, but let's give it a go. No. That's actually kind of, yeah. I think I've got too much stuff going on at the end there. With that, yeah, I think I need to start bringing elements out. So I don't really want the respire to be playing in that section when that little sequence part comes in. So I'm going to filter that out and bring it back towards the end. Yeah, let's try that. Yeah, Buskin Bills points out, sorry, I just realised I've just been silent for the past 5 minutes. Yeah, Buskin Bills points out I think the bass line doesn't finish its loop. Maybe I should let it, which I think is a neat idea. I think if I just have that play like a long... Yeah, that'll do. I think if I just have that decay, increase the decay at the end. Yes, I think that kind of rounds it off a bit more elegantly. That's cool. I like that. So I'm going to save that. I am going to go with the name, drum roll, I'm going to go with Headspace. I think that's a cool name. And I think it kind of suits the track. So I'm just going to call that Headspace. Save that there. And I'm just going to play this through from start to finish. I don't think I'm going to mess around with this anymore today. I think I'm sort of happy with it as it is. But yeah, I'm just going to play it through from start to finish and keep quiet. And if anyone has any ideas or anything, or any questions or anything they'd like to throw at me, please do so in the chat. But yeah, I'm happy with where that is at the moment. So here we go. This is Headspace. I do love it when I forget to extend automation curves to the end of the track, so you get stuff popping in at the end. Whoops. Clovermut says, awesome stuff this week as always. Excellent track. Thank you, Clovermut. That's very kind of you to say. Thank you. You may have noticed, if you were watching closely, I've added an extra little Beatmap fill here, which I'm just going to listen to because I haven't actually checked it. I just drew it in. But let's have a listen. Might vary that up a bit more because it's quite similar to an earlier fill. Yeah, that just adds kind of a little flourish there. I didn't want anything major. Yeah, I'm going to leave it there. And as always, I'm going to come back to this track again tomorrow morning with a fresh pair of ears. Maybe make a few tweaks. But it was really lovely to work on a track and also not pull any presets from my patch library, which makes a nice change. I'm not entirely sure if I've done that during any of these streams before. Create pretty much everything from scratch besides the drums. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with how that came together and sort of throwing in an impromptu Europa pad at the end. Yeah, I really like how that came together, and it was fun to work on. Nice to do something different during these streams. So yeah, cool, awesome. So I'm going to leave it there. So if you're watching this on Twitch, then stick around for a little bit afterwards. I'll hang out for a few minutes. And but if you're watching this on YouTube, then that is the end of the music making session. So it's been really nice to kind of come back to this after a couple of weeks off. As I mentioned either earlier on or before the stream started, I will be doing a kind of Reason retrospective thing again next week. So I'll be dipping into my virtual machine full of old versions of Reason and other goodies. So if you've never seen them in action before, then I think it's going to be really, really interesting, and you should definitely check it out. I love dipping into older versions of Reason, and if you're only familiar with the newer versions of Reason, it's fun. It's fun. It's quite different. So anyway, cool. Right. So thanks so much for joining me. Like I said, if you're on Twitch, stick around. If you're on YouTube, that is it. So hopefully I'll see some of you next time. And cheers for joining me, and hope you have an awesome time doing whatever you're doing. Cool. Cheers, and see you next time. Bye-bye.